Kohala, a district of the northwestern portion of the Big Island of Hawaii, is a land of pictorial beauty, pivotal Hawaiian history, and home to many artisans, musical performers, and contrasting lifestyles of new and old residents. Unifier of the islands and king of Hawaiian kings, Kamehameha was born in North Kohala, where the original bronze statue, cast in his honor and once lost at sea, now resides. One-time advisor to King Kamehameha, John Parker began what is now America's largest individually owned ranch. Headquartered in Kamuela, the Parker Ranch encompasses nearly 250,000 acres of mountains, streams, and pastures. Richard Smart, owner of the massive Parker Ranch, maintains a luxurious estate outside Kamuela. His interests, apart from ranch operations, include the New York stage.
I was born in Honolulu. I didn't happen to be born here on the ranch. Most people think I was, but no, I was born in Manoa Valley. Many, many years ago, nearly 73 as a matter of fact. But I was educated in California, mostly, around San Francisco, and then went to Stanford University for a year, and then had this awful hankering to tread the boards, go on the stage, so I ended up at the Pasadena Community Playhouse School of the Theater, and that was way back in the early 30s. From there, I went on to the stage, you might say. During the summers, when I went to school in California, I always came back here to the ranch for the summer vacations. I spent 3 months on the ranch, which was wonderful because I got to know the ranch. I wasn't forced into any jobs, but I just kind of absorbed the ranch itself, the workings of it, I say by osmosis maybe, or just being there. And for a kid, it was great. You know, I love to ride horseback, and it was a fabulous summer vacation for me always. I enjoy working with the ranch and seeing that it's traveling in the right direction, or as near possible as I may think it's in the right direction. The whole operation goes into a trust upon my death, and therefore the ranch can continue in its entity. If it hadn't been that, if I'd left it to my family, they would have had to have sold it off to pay for the inheritance taxes, unfortunately, and I preferred to have the ranch continue. I think mainly because of the employees and their families who are third and fourth generation now on the ranch. And they deserve some lengthy thing. So with a group of trustees and the ranch being entrusted can go on indefinitely. Because of my interest in the theater, when I retired from the professional theater in 1959, it had always been my dream, maybe one of these days, to have a theater here in Kamuela and bring theater and its different presentations and productions right here to the people that I knew and the people that I enjoyed and loved and my hometown, you might say.
Richard Smart is probably the most fantastic person I've ever worked for. I guess this is for a variety of reasons. Richard himself is a very warm, understanding human being, but he is also someone that understands theater, understands all the problems that are involved with it, which makes my job so much easier. If something doesn't work, Richard understands. He's been in the business for many years, so he has great sympathy with when you say you've done everything possible to promote X event and somehow it didn't work. That's show business. Now, most people don't understand that when you're working for a board of 25 people, as I have on the mainland. They don't understand that because they are working in their profit-making businesses, and if you do everything right, you're supposed to make a profit or it's supposed to be successful. That's not the way it works in show business. Everything you do is a gamble. And to have someone, to work for someone like Richard that understands all this, it makes my job heaven.
My mother's name was Kahilu, you see. Kahilu Onapu Api'ilani was the whole thing, but they always called her Kahilu, and that's why I named the theater after her, because she loved the theater. She used to go to the theater as a young girl in San Francisco, and then they made a trip to New York and London, and she saw a lot of theater. I mean, this was at a very young age. She was about 19 and 20 at that time. But the theater was one of her interests, and it's always had been mine ever since I was that high. It just fascinated me, that's all, I guess.
Author and lace specialist Marie MacDonald grows most of her own flowers on the family farm.
I'm going to collect some flowers that I need to get some lace finished up this morning. We grow all these strange looking things around here for lay material, actually. A lot of the farmers think I'm crazy because I grow these strange materials. I only need a little bit because I'm just doing a short head lay. I try to cut my lay material to the size that I want to use, so I don't have to double prepare. This material can take a beating. I can shove it down in a bucket and won't hurt it at all. I need some liko lehua, and we grow our own liko lehua on the farm. Mostly because it's a long haul to go up to the mountains and get them. And also because we want to kind of preserve our forests. And also because I like lehua. This is the nice young red leaf tips of the lehua that I'm gathering. And you find that a lot of our lay makers today prefer using this than any other material. They always say that the liko is beautiful. And there's all kind of liko. You see, this one is a little different than the last one we picked. They look like little roses. And they're all very beautiful. If you mix them all up, you get a terrific lay. The farm started because it's an outgrowth of my lay making experience and my association with the lay. And pretty soon it expanded to cut flowers, but first because of lay making. And so we grow a lot of stuff. Baby's breath, and this Australian tea, carnations in the greenhouse, and other flowers in the greenhouse too, other small type materials, pansies, akulikuli, the typical things that grow up here in Waimea. We pick about 2,000 carnation heads every other day, and they're sold to lay makers right here in Waimea. In the old days, they used to grow these outside, used to grow carnations outdoors. They still do on Maui. But here in Waimea, we have to greenhouse them to protect them from the wind and extra rain. The art of lei making hasn't changed over the years. The traditional techniques are the same. The only difference is that we're using introduced materials. And this is to the credit of the people in Hawaii, because this is creativity. I want to make a point about the difference between haku lei and vili lei and hili lei. Those are Hawaiian words for the technique. They're terms for the technique that was used, not the finished product. This is a simple technique called hili. It's just braiding, plaiting with one single material. Okay, now, when you add to that plate another material and you lock it in place, I'm going to add some liko lehua. I add this into the plate and I lock it in place. The Hawaiians, in their specific language and specific use of language, changed the name of that technique to haku, because haku means to mount, to set in place. So we're taking another material, putting it into the braid, and locking it in place. So this is a haku lei, this part that I'm doing here right now. What has happened over the years is we don't know the language so well, and we've lost the use of the language. So we hear somebody call a lei on the outward appearance, they look alike, and they call it haku lei. And so you think every lei that looks like that is a haku lei, and it isn't. It is a lei po'o, a head lei, or a lei a'i, a neck lei, or a lei kino, a body lei, a lei that can be worn around the hips or across the front, And if you use those three general terms, you're never going to have trouble. Kind of nice, yeah?
Na Leili'ana's Hula Halau is one of very few dance schools in the Kohala District.
I just opened up my hula school because I felt with the knowledge I have, I can teach the children here in Kamuela. What I know. I've worked under different teachers, and I'm very proud to say that I've studied under 5 kumus besides my mother. I was raised and brought up with my mother's teaching, and I learned a lot from her. And as I went out and learned from different teachers, I kind of put everything together and found my own way and style of teaching. And I'm sorry to say that most of my teachers are no longer living. And what I have here with me, my knowledge, I want to share it with my children in my hula school. Listen to the ipo, go! I do have children in my hula school that they love the hula and they want to learn. And I'm so glad that they feel this way. That makes it easier for me as a teacher to teach. I train them from basic, like everybody else do basic. The thing is, when you dance the hula, to give what you have. Don't hide it, show off. Show everybody, just tell everybody. Tell yourself, in fact, you're beautiful. You want to dance, you're beautiful. And when you get up there, you just dance. Just dance, feel your dance, and enjoy your dance.
Young, promising, pen and ink artist Tom Mayhow sketches whenever farm chores allow him some free time.
I've just drawn as long as I can remember. Close as they want, and look at anything they want, and it's all right there for them. up till this point, it's strictly for myself. I've never shown anything in public or sold anything. But one day I would like that to happen.
Island resident since 1936, Margaret Fleming Waldron's paintings are found in private collections throughout Hawaii and the mainland.
I first started painting, outdoor sketching, and it's my favorite because I love nature and being outdoors, and it's to get the essence of a subject without too much unnecessary detail. In other words, if you can get the effect with a few strokes, why put in a lot of messy detail? Because that gets into the photographic category of which artists do not claim to be in. That's another art itself.
Feather lei making is not only artistic, but therapeutic as well.
My name is Sugi Kaiama. I've started making feather lace for over 40 years now, since I first started. The reason why I went into feather lace was I became very ill and was confined in the hospital for several months. And before then I was a stenographer, but being unable to go out to work, my older brother was shooting pheasants, and he had a very nice friend from Maui, a pure Hawaiian lady, who was an expert at making feather lace, and he taught him, and while he was learning, I learned from him. And since then, I have been making feather lace all these many years. Many hunters bring me skins, but I like to get them the whole bird because I like to get all the fat off the skin and treat the skin. This way I have feathers that last for 30, 40 years, and the sheen does not disappear, and the bugs don't get at the skin of the bird. When we have the skins in a full skin like this, it's easier to match to make a nice solid lei. Because a lot of people pluck feathers, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's almost impossible to match the colors and the shapes and sizes.
A visit to Hawaii's largest privately owned museum is a potpourri adventure back in time.
I was born in North Kohala, 1905. This museum was predicted in 1913 by my great-grandmother and my grandmother. They were great kahunas. And so this is the result of the museum in my 57 years collection with my wife.
I'm Mrs. Harriet Solomon, great-great-granddaughter John Palmer Parker, who came to the islands in 1850, became advisor to Kamehameha I, married a chiefess of the Kamehameha line, and had 3 children, Mary Ann, Ebenezer, and John, and I'm a descendant from Mary Ann Parker.
The Kohala Mountain Road bridges the North and South districts through a passage of color, beauty, and time. Born just down the road at Niuli'i, David Gomes builds his own guitar designs, inspired by the great craftsmen he met while studying flamenco and classical guitar in Spain.
The real art of guitar making, I think, is in the making of the instrument. It's not the instrument itself. You can't hang a guitar on the wall and go, there's a nice piece of art. You know, it doesn't work like that so much. There are a lot of aesthetic aspects of the appearance of the guitar, but I think the real art lies in the making of it, and it seems like when you're choosing the wood, putting the guitar together, you're always making these little tiny micro decisions about how is the grain running in this piece of wood. Can you visualize the three-dimensional aspect of how the grain runs in the wood? Would it be better flipped around or on its side in order to get the best cut out of the wood? And you're always making these decisions, and it seems like after 10 years, they're almost unconscious. It's one thing to be able to build a guitar that looks great, sounds great, and will last a long time. But it's another thing to be a success, or to be able to just survive at doing it over any extended period of time. And it just boils down to being able to reduce your expenses without hurting quality at all. And I prefer to, instead of buying pre-made parts or pre-machined wood or milled wood, the more raw the material for me is a better way to go. Like, for instance, abalone shell inlay. I just use the shell itself and work it down with a metal cutting blade on the bandsaw, and end up with the small pieces for inlay around the edge or the sound hole. It's probably a 20th of the cost of buying the actual pieces from a guitar supply wholesaler. Well, like the humble old pihi hanging on a rock, when somebody comes along and touches it, that little guy just sucks down on the rock harder. He probably doesn't even know why he does it, and I think I'm the same way, you know. If I could never really leave Kohala, I'm kind of stuck here. And I plan to be building guitars for a long time. It's not the kind of thing like construction where you kind of wear out your back when you're 40. You know, you can do guitar making until you're 80 probably, and probably be doing your best stuff at that time. You know?
At the end of the road in North Kohala lies Pololu Valley, once home to Hawaiian villages and taro patches, then later to Chinese rice growers. In 1946, the valley's crops and lifestyles all came to an abrupt halt when the same tidal wave that affected so many island communities leveled the land. The Sproat family knew the valley then and still watches over it today.
My name is Clyde Halema'uma'u Sproat, but everybody call me Kindy, K-I-N-D-Y. The first years of my life was down back in the third valley, Honokana-Iki. And I think my first remembrance of any kind of life was in Honokana-Iki, down in the valley. We lived in the valley by ourselves, just our family, my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters, and just us. We had pigs and chickens. We were really self-sufficient in there. We raised pigs. We had chickens and all the eggs we could eat. We had avocados, papayas, all kinds of garden vegetables. I mean, we lived high on the hog back there, you know. It was really a good life. And I didn't realize how great the life was, you know. Now, looking back on my mother, now, until I got married, you know, I learned a lot of things about women after I got married. Now, my mom, she washed clothes in a stream with a stick, you know. She washed clothes, she carried water from the well. She baked, we lived in there, and she baked all our bread. She milked cows, she made butter, you know. And then we had no cooling system, so we put the butter down in the well to keep it cool, you know. And my mom went up every day, walked up the hill. We put the cows out up the mountains. She walked all the way up there. She got those cows, brought them down. She caught the cows, she milked the cows. And then she fed, we had pigs. She fed, oh, I don't know, chickens. She had a lot of hogs. She raised these hogs, you know, fed them, slopped them, and gee, and on top of that, she raised all us kids. She washed their clothes. We never went to the doctor because my mom was a first board of health nurse on this island of Hawaii. She took care of us, took care of all our needs, you know, everything. And we just lived, and we lived really good in there. We'd take a bath, you know, in the evening after we took a bath and we had supper. My mom did all the dishes and everything. Then she came and sat on the porch. She sat on the porch on a little trunk that we had out on the porch, and she played a 4-string banjo. And we sang every song there was in the book, you know. I mean, we sang all the patriotic songs. We sang all the nursery rhyme songs. We sang all the old cowboy songs, everything that we knew, all the old Hawaiian songs, a lot of old Hawaiian songs we sang. So by the time I went to school, I was 6 years old, and I went to school. I say I knew somewhere in the area of about 300 to 400 songs, you know, that I had learned from my mom. So I never lacked for singing material in school because I learned all this at home. And we sang a lot, and when it was time to go to bed at night, you know, that's when we sang the Owl's Lullaby. Our way of life is changing, you know. Like the Hawaiian says, "O halalako ko eno napua," means I will never, in my eyes, I will never see the things that my father have seen, or my grandfather have seen, and my kids, my grandkids, will never see this time that I saw, because this time is changed. All the time that I saw, it's changed. It's no longer here. Probably when my grandkids grow up and live around here, there'll probably be tenement houses around, and somebody say, "Hey, boy, you know, this used to be country." Kohala used to be a great country, you know. But I can see it coming, and I just hope I'm dead and gone and buried by then.
Talk to me, who will answer me? Who knows why I sing? Who knows the reason why I sing this lullaby? Talk to me, who will answer me? Who knows why I...